talking about the distance between 1 and 2. It's like a delay between 1 and 2. Between 1 and 2. No. First and second fingers, but from 1, whatever letter I pick, going either left or going right. So here's what I'm talking about. This one right here goes to this 8. This 8 always stays there. It is the mirror of 1. It always is there in your pictures. So from the very beginning on the keys, start playing octaves. And when you're playing octaves, use your 4th finger as the other part of your octave. Of course, your thumb is the first part of your octave. The second part being your 4th finger, not your 5th. Not saying you're not going to use your 5th. Naturally, you're going to use your 5th. Because your 5th is a little reach finger, reaching off of your 1 or off of your 2 or off of your 3. That little 5th finger is your reach. It'll get it. But in this case, you have to have another finger. Distancing between your brain other than 5. 5 is out there, it's always great, but I'm saying go for the 4. The 4th finger, as spoken before, is the lazy finger that is just as strong as the 3rd, having a great time all the time, and the pointer, pointing everything out, that finger on both hands. That 4th finger is really strong. If you start learning octaves, whether you're going from a letter to a letter or a sharp to a sharp, those 8 notes in between, that 1 and that 8 in between, that 1 to 8, or 1 to 8, or 4th finger to 1st, going in the left hand, that octave feel is something you got to practice. So you got to go looking on the keyboard, where is a sharp to sharp? What 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 is a sharp to sharp? Going to sharp always works out octaving. If you're feeling both on the tops of the keys between 1 and 4, and your hands are up on there, both hands locked in the 1 to 4 position, lining between 1 and 4 constantly locked in the 1 to 4 position. Naturally then, your 2nd finger locked in that 1 to 4 position will be stretched, pointing in a certain note. If you look at it on both hands, it almost perfectly fits a 4th down in measurement, or the actual 5th address of any major street or blues street. But below this way, going backwards, 8, 5, 1, 8, 5, 1, going backwards, reading backwards. In the left hand, this 5, which is really only a 4th apart from it in the vortex, is very complicated. I know we've talked about this vortex thing, but this 5 address, only a 4th distance down from an 8 or a 1. This 5 is a natural place that your 2nd finger falls if you're playing the 1-4 position. In the left hand, in the bass part we're talking, this 5 address falls naturally on your 2nd finger. Try it out. Remember, B has F sharp. B does not have a letter to letter. Now we're talking letter to letter. Okay. C to G to C. But when you hit B, wherever you are, you have to hit F sharp to have the correct 5th in between, because we are talking power chord in here. We're talking 1, 5, 8. We are talking cool power chording. 1, 5, 8. in the right hand. And in the left hand too. I'm actually mirroring this time. Usually I don't. Usually I told you like last night and I agree. All the other intervals except for 5 and 4, but 5 especially. 5 and 4, but all the other intervals like +4, +5, 6, major 7, 7, 3, M3, 2, all those are going to really be using the right hand guitar part a whole lot. But not in the left hand. As far as moving the second or moving a M3, yes, but not using it as a harmony, because in the left hand the harmony is an octave. Now 1 and 8, and occasionally a 5 in between. So you got to know if you're playing any letter, it's going to be another letter that's naturally going to fall where your second finger is. It's going to naturally fall there. But if you're on B, you have to force your finger up onto a sharp. Up that distance, up that distance, up that distance, going into the raise section of a keyboard. Raising yourself off of a letter, not going just letter to letter, but raising yourself up off of the keyboard. Why? Because it's important to learn what that feels like. Because you're not just playing on a... Wait. And I'm just playing with a great guitar player today, Dave. And if you're not just playing with a neck that's all even in height, with that sharp note, I gotta go up a distance in height. I have to actually raise or make my fingers feel that. While if you're playing guitar, which is the beginning of all music, then you're just sliding that same formation. But if you're moving on the keys by every single possible one, every 12, just 5 sharps, and 7 letters, if you were moving by them, every B, you have to hit an F sharp to be a true 5. Or -4, vortex-wise, going negative, going left. Not going right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but going... Test it, 1, 2, 3, 4 notes in between. A true 4th in measurements, 4 notes in between. Remember, a 4th up from B has 4 notes in between. Fourths are really cool. I'm telling you, fourths are really cool. Those are fourths. Fourths if we stretch it all to fifths. Chromatically just sliding. But really to challenge yourself, you got to go all letters, all sharp. So you're going all 5s. Every B, I'm going to add that F sharp. Yes. So that is talking about the distance between 1 and 2. And what it can do, especially if you're looking at the 4, and especially in your left hand. You're still playing that positioning, and your 5th finger is still hanging off. But you have that separate distance between your left hand and your right hand. Your left hand has a little bit of a stranger, smaller distance between the 1 down to the 4, which is really the 5th address, down to the octave, between that and the right hand, which goes a little bit wider between 1 and 2 before then goes that special line to the 4th, to that 8th. So, here. All 5th. 1, 5, then a 5 from here, then a 5 from here, then a 5 from here, then a 5 from here. That would be all 5s. But I say to go all letters to practice instead of chromatically climbing a Once they go from a letter start here, not to a chromatic start to D sharp, not from here to here, but go from here to here. Now I'm really using my reach finger because I'm using my fifth right now. But now 1, 5 to 5. It goes from a fifth here to from a fifth here, from a fifth here, from a fifth here, from a fifth here. Now I'm going to move up a whole step to B. And I have to learn, oh, it's not always the same letter, 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 sharp, sharp. But it completely switches and it goes letter, letter, sharp, 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 sharp. Whole lot more sharps in there because I moved a whole step. But now I've only got a half step to move because it's letter to letter, so it's a half step between E and F and E and F. But now I have to go F to G, F to G, F to G. That's a whole step. So I have to go 5, 5, 5, 5. Everything is a fifth apart. Fifth, 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 fifth. I'm playing 6 notes. I'm playing a chord. I'm not going to identify that for you now. But I'm playing a chord because it's more than 2. Because 2 is an interval. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a chord. We are in chords now. Welcome to Chords 101. Chords all the time. But what if you go 5, 5? You can build chords all the way. Well, I mean, all kinds of ways, right? I said, yes, you can take an 8 and put a 1 in between an 8 and a 1, which is an interval, and then make it a power chord with 1, 5, 8. But you can also keep going 5s above this. Once I get to a 5, I'll go to another 5th distance. The coolest thing about labeling as addresses in Major Town and labeling as addresses in Blues Town is it puts an identity to each letter of each street of each of those 12 streets in each town, 24 streets total. Everything that's so great about that is cool. But also we start learning, as our brain starts seeing, that distancing is in between 2 notes. I'm going a distance. I'm going a 6. Or maybe I'm going, well, tonight we'll be talking about, I'm going a 4 or I'm going a 5 from 1. I'm going some kind of distance from 1 and an 8. Or what I like to call the great power chord, 5 in between a 1 and an 8. Let's just stay with this 5 for a little bit. This is what I mean. Tomorrow, the next day, whatever, down the road, the 5th day, the 5th letter, away from the neighbor 1, away a 4th down from the neighbor 8. This 5 is a natural fingered note. This note, this fingered 5 inside, in between 1 and 8, falls very naturally. If you first look at it in the right hand only, and you're doing the duck position, whack, 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 and you have that line in between your 1st and 4th finger, your 2 is angled at the keyboard. That 2 is naturally, I'm talking about in the right hand, just you go here. This 2 is naturally going to fall on a 5. If I just keep that position right here and I just bring it over to the keyboard here, it's going to fall on a 5. 5, 5, 5. Whether I'm letter to letter. Now remember, on a B, I always have to have an F sharp. That's the true 5. We measured it out in interval class, so we know that every time we have a B. But otherwise, if you're on any other letter, it's a 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just counting on the letters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, except for B, you just have to remember it's F sharp. But then you go down to A, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put that 1 and 2, but you put an octave around it. Look at where 2 falls. F sharp with B. In between that 8, in the right hand guitar part, that 2 naturally falls because it's the angle between 1 and 4, which I'm forcing to learn to wake up that 4th finger, play the octave with 1 and 4. Forcing you, play the octave with 1 and 4. Make that line between 1 and 4 the primary destination in not only the left hand, but in the right hand. But the difference is, in the left hand, we're not going to play any note in between. We're just going to play the 1 and an 8. We're going to be pure octaves with nothing in between in the left hand. That means, though, interestingly enough, if you want to really see the fingering of it, it will be the fourth finger will be live and strong on the 1 of the block, while the thumb will fall on the 8th note, going left to right, because your hand is like this, 1 to 4. Wait, you can see this? The part I was just talking about was the bass part, was the left hand. That was the left hand. But in the right hand, you also have a root and an 8. You also have a 1 and an 8. It's just going to be filled in by a lot of other things. Sometimes you're going to just fill in a bing 4. Sometimes you're just going to pick in a bing 5. Sometimes you're going to pick in a 3. Sometimes you're going to pick in an M3. Sometimes you're going to pick in a 2. Sometimes you'll pick in a 2 and an M3. And an 8. Gong are 4 notes. You can have 5 notes, 6 notes, 7 notes. You can be playing a chord in the right hand, but not in the left hand. You're going to be playing the beginning of the chord, the base of the chord, the bottom of the chord, the requested bottom of the chord. It doesn't have to be letters particularly as the identity. Like if we're playing a E chord, you don't have to play an E in the bass. You can play any other note in the whole chromatic possibility 12 different letter spectrum against that E. That's the great thing. But identity is more important from the very beginning. If you're raising this little left hand and raising this little right hand, you want to raise this left hand as a bass player and raise this right hand as a guitar player. And as a guitar player, you're going to be playing more than one note. You're going to be playing chords. Guitar players play chords. Bass players play bass notes. And sometimes what I'm saying on the keyboard is to imitate the great bassiness and powerfulness of the bass. I say learn how to play bass not just with one note at a time, but with 2 notes at a time at an actual interval called an octave. Play that constantly in your left hand. This is my left hand right here. With your 4th finger on the 1 and your thumb on the 8. That, or the 5th finger on the 1 and your thumb on the 8. But anyways, moving back and forth all over all the 12 possible letters and sharps. 12 possible things that octave could be in your left hand. And it doesn't have to be the same letter as the right hand. In fact, it can be completely different. In fact, it can move while you're holding down the right hand. Or the opposite could happen. The right hand can move on top of the left hand. 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. And instead of playing it 1, 3, 5, your hand all scrunch up 1, 3, 5, like some of they put in these lettering rhythm bing bang pong ping 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 ping pong ping books, where it says 1, 3, 5, a fingering of a 1, 3, and a 5 chord, a little every other note chord. No, it's 1, 2, 4. First finger is your thumb, which is name of 1. Second finger is your second finger, and 4th finger is your 4th. 1, 2, 4, not 1, 3, 5, like a little like this. No, spreading out your hands like a dog again. Right? I'm not playing straight on like this. I'm moving my hands to the angle. I'm not playing straight on like this. I'm moving my hands to the angle in order to have that distance between my first and second finger. Always training itself between my first and second finger is what does it feel like? What does it feel like between my first and second finger if I'm only playing a second? If I'm only playing a second. If I'm only playing a half step, that's a different feeling. But let's say I'm playing an M3 or 3 or 4 or a plus 4 or 5 or plus. What does it feel like when I'm going from 1 to 5 with my first and second finger? I have to really angle my hand to get to that 5. That's the right way to be playing, though. That is the right way to be playing. So when you're really playing and you're like this angle, you can start to feel the correct way of learning how to play the piano without even looking at it, by just feeling whether you're on the 3s or the 2s, where you are just by the touch